it can be challenging, you know, because you're used to having that other person, their energy, seeing their face, their laugh, their all. I'm never gonna cry again.
All right. Welcome back to 7997 with your host, Chris and Jacki. Two black folks that are not having a midlife crisis, but
Making changes.
Getting better, getting stronger, more creative, having more fun. Not upset that the children don't live here anymore. Well, they never lived here.
Right.
But here isn't in our house and in our lives. They're doing their own thing. We hope you're doing yours too. So, that statement I just gave you might be a little different from what you've heard from us if you've been on the channel before. We've been living in Mexico for a while. We were doing that for about 3 years. And now we're back stateside. So we're shifting some things around. But, you know, a lot has happened since we last spoke. So maybe we'll start there. If
you can go first.
You want me to go first?
You go first.
What's changed with me is just my location.
Okay. Oh.
I'm also making twice as much money now. Still have the same job, same position, same responsibilities. It's wonderful what geography will do for you.
Wow. That zip code change.
That zip code.
That country code.
Yeah. Country code, zip code, all the codes make a difference. So, you know, a little bit being better paid is a little bit better than being worse paid. So the finances are looking much better lately. Wonderful. And as you can see, we're in a new space here. This is our new studio here. Coming to you live from Dayton, Ohio. No longer in San Miguel de Allende. The studio is still kind of in flux, in process, getting it together, but it's starting to shape itself up. Want to fill it with art and things that just make me feel good and make us feel good, and hopefully we'll give you other things to talk about in the background that might be engaging to you. Shine some light on some artists who maybe aren't well known, or maybe they are well known. I don't know. I don't know what's going to end up on the walls, but so far I'm enjoying the process.
Spending up all of that increase.
I mean, you gotta do something with the money. You can't just, you know, let it sit there.
Can't just save it. Can't just save it.
You know, when the world blows up,
help us,
you
Lord.
can't take it with you. So,
wow.
You know,
spend it.
put it on your walls if you can. Maybe put it in your walls and save it.
Not in agreement with that.
Get you a safe is what I'm saying. Put some cash in it. But yeah, so a lot of my change, I think, is more around space and place and feeling the opportunity to do things that maybe I couldn't do in Mexico. We were kind of moving from spot to spot, and it's full of somebody else's furniture, and you don't want to mess up the walls, and you have a whole lot less income. So being in this place kind of gives me a little bit more of a stay at home, be at home, enjoy home kind of vibe. And I do have money to spend on.
And more autonomy.
More autonomy, yeah, for sure. Because if you're in a house in Mexico and you don't like the couch, like, good luck for you, buddy. Maybe your landlord's nice enough to take the couch out so you can put your own couch in, but usually you're kind of stuck with it. So we do have some flexibility here that I enjoy, for sure. But on that note, I will pass it to you.
Yeah.
Going through a lot of changes lately.
Lots and lots and loads of changes.
Let's tell the folks about all the things that you've been James Browning, shall we say. Change gonna come.
Oh my Lord. Okay, so
that's Sam Cooke, I'm sorry.
That is Sam Cooke.
I was going for the metaphor, it didn't really connect, and
didn't work.
Man's world. No.
So if we can start now, go backwards, I guess. Right now, your girl is nursing a hamstring tear. Rupture is what my chart says. So I slipped on ice up here, which almost would never have happened in San Miguel. You can fall in San Miguel.
You definitely do a lot of falling,
right.
Tripping, more so than slipping.
Correct, but slipping on ice is not normally going to happen.
Yeah, not in San Miguel.
Not in San Miguel, right? So I slipped on ice and fell, y'all. Fell. And the fall that did me in, because there may have been 3 within the whole, situation. Excuse me, what did me in was me falling into a James Brown split, which is why he mentioned Brother Brown. Your girl fell on her and landed really on my right hamstring, back of that thigh. Oh my goodness. And it was excruciating. I am definitely a lot more healed now, but I'm still in the process of healing. And so it is something else. If any of you all have torn a muscle or a ligament, drop a comment just to let me know how long did it take y'all to recuperate or whatever, because it's been a few weeks already, and from what I've heard, there's still a couple more months of real healing to do, because no surgery. So this is just going to be exercise the muscle, rest the muscle, exercise the muscle, rest, right?
I mean, thankfully, no surgery.
Nothing broken.
Just, stay off of it, heal it up, exercise and get it stronger. Because surgery is, it's a necessary evil at times, but sometimes you feel like after surgery, you've just torn the whole thing up even worse than it was before.
Right.
And your recovery is even longer.
Exactly.
It could be protecting you from long-term damage. So thankfully, no surgery, but
and infections too. I mean, you got to open you up and do all the slicing and dicing on my yams and all the sutures and all of that. So, anywho, so that's where I am physically now. Excuse me. I also have a new position. I actually fell at work, so on my second day on the job. Second day of work. Oh my gosh. So, but it's a wonderful organization here in Dayton. We, our goal is to house the homeless, the chronically unhoused. And, so it's a really awesome, opportunity. Hard work, because when you're working with people, who are going through challenges, it's challenging helping people through challenges, right? Or, all the things that come along with it. So that I'm doing that. Well, once I get back, I'll be doing that. But there is headache and heartache for me, especially me. I'm the more, let me use my words correctly. I lead with my head, heart emotions for me. And so right now I'm in a weird emotional space because, like specifically coming to Ohio was not on anyone's bingo card, right? So, and coming back to the States was always in the back of our mind, but I think we probably thought maybe we'd go back to Charlotte, or maybe we go to the East Coast. Charlotte's East Coast too, but maybe closer
to Northeast, closer to our grandbaby.
Yeah, closer to the children, grandbaby. But Ohio was not anywhere on the radar.
Yeah.
So there's still a sense of loneliness because not only are we in a new space, we are in a really new space in place. Barely know people. I've met some associates, some folks at work and things like that, but no real friendships and kinships yet. Still learning the place, still learning the city, which is really cool. It's a really cool town. Fun things to do, especially our things, food and shopping, antiquing and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, there's a Goodwill on every corner, it seems like. Plenty of thrift stores, consignment shops, antique malls. Plenty of new restaurants popping up. I always said this in the past, but Ohio feels like a testing ground for a lot of new restaurant concepts, as well as I think people are really seeing the influx of people into the Dayton area, so businesses are popping up, and a big easy business for people to, I shouldn't say easy business.
Right.
Easy business to start, not an easy business to maintain, is restaurants.
Yeah.
So a lot are kind of popping up right now. You got, across the board. We were in, what was that place? I want to say Mongolian, but not Nepali. A Nepali restaurant. One of my favorite places is Kung Fu Noodle. It sounds like the worst Chinese ever, but it's actually really good. Hand-pulled noodles.
Pulled noodles, yep.
Plenty of Mexican and, pretty much across the board you can find a lot of stuff here. Indian.
Yeah. And the cool thing about the ethnic food here is that it is cooked by the ethnic people. And so everything is as authentic as they can bring it. You know what I mean? And so that is something that we thoroughly enjoy. And it's not that another person can't cook an ethnic cuisine, because I do that, right? And so it can be good, but it is something different for sure when you have a Honduran taco truck down the street and they're from Honduras, right? So it's a totally different ball of wax there. So there's still that starting over. I don't know how overwhelmed you are about it, but it is overwhelming for me. Because I think traditionally when you start over, you get your work friends, maybe there's a social group or situation going on within that organization or things like that, activities they do. How like when I worked at Red Ventures, we had different sport groups. We had intramural sports at the corporation, right? I did volleyball, things like that. So that's not here yet for me, that I've engrafted myself into. I also haven't found a home church here yet. I may be driving an hour away down to Cincinnati to be a part of that fellowship. And then the neighbors, we met one neighbor, so, still trying to learn that, navigate that neighborly thing. Haven't gotten the pudding, was it the Jell-O mold?
Oh, with pie or cake or something.
Have not gotten.
I don't know if people even do that anymore, but
I know, but not on our street.
Yeah. I will say the overwhelm for me has been probably more physical than it is mental, because I don't necessarily keep a large friend group anyway. So like, I'm fine being introverted into myself, and I have my good friend, my best friend, with me all the time. But I think part of that was being back in Mexico when she was here in Dayton before me, and she's sort of getting Dayton set up. And I'm in Mexico by myself, so I don't have my good friend with me. So there's some emotional and mental stress with that. And then basically I have to shut down 2 locations in Mexico because we had the collective space where kind of everybody got together. My mother had to leave out quickly from Mexico as well. So I was kind of left with the collective space and our home to kind of shut down, get everything out, and moved across the border.
That had to have been overwhelming.
It was overwhelming, but like I had a good amount of time.
Yeah, there was prep.
I could do it slowly, day by day. I didn't have to like rush, and thankfully it wasn't a big rush or time limit wise. But it does take its toll physically because there was quite a few steps involved. Just because it's Mexico and there's stairs everywhere. You're in the mountains.
Yeah.
So it was that physical, and then coming back and finally getting back into Dayton, into the States, and us finally getting back together. We're on the 3rd floor of a house.
I think he needed steps.
There was more physical energy being exerted there on a day-to-day basis, and then she slips and falls and hurts her hamstring. At the same time, we're going to move into the place we're in now.
The Mexico was training because you would have to do it again.
Yeah, but again, I didn't have a huge time crush. We had planned it out so it would take us a couple weeks to move. We could do it slowly. So even though you were in the hospital and rehabilitating, I could do the move by myself because so much of our stuff got left and sold in Mexico that we had a small amount of stuff here.
And it was a lot of stuff is already boxed up anyway.
Right. All
just waiting to get moved.
Just got dropped off in Dayton and we had to kind of ship it over to our new place. So it was just a lot of kind of physical moving, solo kind of stuff. Even though it wasn't the worst move in the world, it's still physical enough when you got to go up and down stairs. 3 flights, 2 flights, whatever it is. And then, worrying about her at the same time being in the hospital. And like so much of it was kind of unknown for a while because she was like, okay, is it a broken knee? Is it a torn hamstring? Is it just a muscle sprain? And like the hospital was just kind of going a little slow on some stuff.
Did anything break?
Took a couple days to even get into the MRI because the MRI was just so backed up. So finally, once we got everything kind of confirmed of like, hey, this is what's going on. Here's the course of action. And I have to like get up, work from home for 8 hours, move some stuff, go see her at the hospital, go do other random things that need to be done when you're moving between places, going to Walmart and buying stuff that you don't have, going antiquing, get furniture that you're going to need in the new house. So like it was just a lot kind of going on at one time, and just it was a physical burden, but also a mental one of like, I'm the type of person when I know there's a lot that I need to get done I had to kind of slow down, buckle down, and say, okay, here's my top 3 things I need to get done right now. Do those 3 things, and then move on to the next thing. So it's this constant like planning and replanning and replanning over and over.
That's a do list. Kept refreshing.
Right, because like I don't like to sit down and do everything on the entire to-do list, because it just by the time you get 5 changed, the one that's number 10 is going to change for some reason because you did something up top. So it's just a lot of mental exercise, mental gymnastics, and then physical exercise. And then like once she gets out of the hospital and we're finally in the space, like part of it is me getting into the new space and making sure it's ready for her to get home when she's not 100%. Like she's got to, limp around the house. It's got to be mostly put together. I can't have boxes in the middle of the floor when she can't walk barely. So I don't want to make the house a death trap for her when she comes back home. Like that's not.
Thank you, babe.
That's not helpful at all. So I couldn't even be lazy and like just get everything in the house and then sit down.
Just stage it.
Get your little square around the bed,
right.
Good, and, you're done. But like, no, I got to set up a kitchen and get a living room together and put a couch together, because it's cheaper to get a couch in pieces rather than getting a whole couch.
Boxed.
So yeah, there's a lot of things to kind of tackle together. And like finally at a place now where she's healthy enough to kind of get around the house by herself. The house is in shape enough for us to kind of just be here and be at peace and not have to be thinking about what's going to go where every day. We're pretty settled in.
Or baby, have you seen my? That's when you move
trying
it.
to find something that's in the bottom of a box somewhere.
Where cotton balls? Right.
Once you get to the end of packing, it's like there are the boxes that are labeled and packed well, and then
there's
the boxes
going to be a couple of miscellaneous.
I'm just throwing stuff in here, and who knows
because
where it's going to end up.
Everything y'all moved, boy, everything would just end up like, I can't believe we forgot this drawer.
Yeah.
You take the drawer out, you just dump it into a box.
Yeah. And usually that last stuff you have is the stuff you need the most.
Yeah, because it's out.
Not trying to pack it up, it's got to be out.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's so true.
I lost a bottle of pills somewhere. I have no idea where that medicine went, but it never came out of a box if it went into a box. It's probably rolling around the bottom of the car or something. So, so there's a lot kind of going on.
Yeah. Hold on, I need to one other thing I need to piggyback on.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2, but it's the same coin. Change is challenging sometimes. So we were in Mexico for 3 years in the same city, and we made a really great friend group. And so, and because we made a good friend group, sister girls, guy friends, and activities we would participate in, and fun things. I mean, just all the things. And because because the experience was the experience, and y'all go back and wait and watch and look and see, just going shopping was an adventure. You know what I mean? Because it's just all the things built in. So whether you're walking down the street and like, bae, you see them pack of dogs, or we're walking down the street and there'll be fans of the page. Chris, Jacki, oh my gosh, hi! That kind of thing. Or rolling up on a new piece of fruit that we've never seen before. Like, babe, have you seen this before? No, I've never seen that. So like, it was always just something, I think, that we never quite experienced before. And we were able to do that, to me, almost on a daily basis, and that could also was just shopping. Like, okay, let's go and get in the WhatsApp group. Hey, is anybody going to Costco this weekend? Because I'm looking for something in particular or whatever. And like, okay, cool, we're going to get a trip. Like going to Costco is a whole event. And then, since we're going to be at Costco, y'all want to go to Cheesecake Factory too? And then we're going to go to the big mall, Antia Mall, right? So it's like, it's never just, I'm just going to go. It's always a thing. Yeah. So that kind of special, I think, existence has changed. And that coincides with the people too, right? So the sister friends, the guy friends, and the activities that we were involved in have changed. So I'm missing that. I'm missing them. And then the other thing too, because we thought in the back of our minds, okay, when we move back, because like part of our own planning, we were like maybe Delaware for anyone who we never would have ever anticipated Delaware either. But our sons, it's like strategically placed, and Delaware has nice coastline and affordability and enough arts and food, because we're from the East Coast. So, you know, we were strategically looking at that space. And so that now has gone away, and we're still far away from our kids, right? And so, and the grandbaby, so how we would have come back, where we would have landed, totally changed. So there's disappointment in that. I don't know if you've considered that or thought about it, but it's one of the reasons why as I walk through the house, I always just no, this is not planned. I'm sorry. I always just daydream at Calvin's little picture, because it's like grandma was supposed to be closer, but in reality we're almost still just as far, even though we're still in the States. Definitely an easier car ride, but my best friend hates car rides. So if I say, hey babe, you know, let's rent a car and drive, that wouldn't strike his fancy at all. You know, necessarily want to always hop a flight, but we're still just as far. I call them my heartbeats. We're still just as far from the boys and Landy and the baby.
Let's be honest about how far you want to be. So
that's neither here or there. That doesn't even matter. But again, we still were talking about being within 2 hours of both sets, right?
And I guarantee you would still be shedding these same tears.
No,
because you would not be as close as you want to be.
No.
We were spoiled in the fact that her mother was literally 2 doors down from us when we lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. So her mother moved down to North Carolina, and the boys had their grandmother for a very long time in very close proximity.
Yeah.
So like Friday after school, they'd run out the house with their little bags. We're going to grandma's house, we're out, and they'd be down the street, and we wouldn't see them again until Sunday.
Yeah. But generation ago, you grew up with your grandparents.
I grew up very close to my mother's mother.
Yeah.
We could walk to her house. It was a long walk, but we could walk to her house as well. We were over there all the time. So I had that grandparent in very close proximity. Even when we were in Mexico, my mother was, you know,
down,
a 10-minute walk down the street.
Walking distance, right?
So used to having that kind of proximity, and now we're in, you know, a couple states away. It feels like it's still not close enough.
It's not close enough.
And if we were in Delaware and it was a 2-hour train trip to get up to New York City, we wouldn't be making that 2-hour train trip every day, every weekend, maybe once a month. So it would be closer, but it would not be close enough.
But closer, and having that once a month would be great.
For you to be ultimately happy, you would love for them to be living upstairs or down the street, and they could just come down here. And literally, Landy's family lives, you know, a couple hours away in Ohio. Like a lot of her family's in the state, so like maybe they do eventually end up coming back.
Maybe
to Ohio
they migrate back. Yeah,
maybe possibly. But like there is, I think the reality of the situation is that even though we are not as close as maybe we would have liked to have been, I don't think we're that far anyway. So like, it's not going to be as close as you want it to be. You are still going to be disappointed by being in Delaware, 2-hour train trip away. That's just the fact of the matter. So I'm not saying that this isn't as far as Mexico, obviously. It's closer than Mexico.
It is closer, right.
It's not as close to Delaware. You even talk about, can we move to New York? Don't nobody want to live in New York. No,
but even around there, no, but it is so definitely expensive. And I get it, you know, because we never talked about, never really prayed on that one, thought about it seriously, of course. But all I'm saying is that I thought we would want to be closer. And so we're still far away, you know, and still far enough away where it isn't a monthly trip that can be, you know, plan for, or even every other weekend, like, cause I mean, an Amtrak ride, you know, you're talking about $50, jump on, if you don't feel like driving, you know what I mean? Making it, I'm the adventure. So making it adventure, make it a thing. And like, okay, cool, meet us at Penn Station, or all right, they're gonna come down and spend the weekend or whatever. So it just, that ease, even if there was a couple of hours in between us, it still would have been a lot simpler and easier versus a 10-hour train ride for them, or
I think something
whatever.
you're forgetting is that with the rise in my income and then your added income to that, once we actually get in a position where all the debt that we have is paid down and we're in a financial place, we could literally go out to New York once a month.
Once a month, yeah.
You know,
and that's something to strive
cheap
for.
Flight and you can get out there.
Yeah.
So like that's not an impossibility, and that is part of what we want to do at some point. How to make sure that we stay in greater touch with our grandbaby and make sure that he has us in his life as much as possible as he's growing up. Because we both had the benefit of that. So, you know, it's something we want to give to
benefit
him as well.
and blessing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a really, really sweet thing. But the crazy thing is, we've always had that. Even when we lived in Baltimore. Mom, your mother, Mama Steph was 6 blocks away in Babatai. So 6 blocks away in Baltimore, and Mommy, my mother, was 45 minutes down the road in PG County. So it was always a grandparent somewhere around, you know what I mean? We can go and visit Fancy. He was also in PG County in Bowie. So, and uncles, and, you know, so we always had that. So, not being near family right now is very challenging. For me, I don't know how challenging it is for you, you know, but that definitely is, that was not on my bingo card.
I mean, we were going to be in Mexico.
Yeah.
We were in Mexico for 3 years. We really had no intentions of coming back.
That's correct.
So that was
also
on your bingo card, and that's the plan that we had.
What?
Not being near family.
But no. But don't forget, Mommy was there. We always had a buddy. We always had Mom and Baba Ty.
Having uncle and grandpa and grandma.
But I mean, we had a lot of aunts. Oh no! I'm not comparing
so like,
the
as you
amount.
get in a new place, we can't erase, you know, our memory of what the actual original plan was, and that was to not be near family, other than my mother.
Right, but that's
right.
all I'm saying. We had someone there with us, right? We were not totally alone. Where we are now, we're totally alone by ourselves. And then the other, you know, curveball too was Mom and Baba Ty needing to get back to the States at the same time for their medical issues. And so now, you know, if we go back, we can always go back to visit San Miguel, but we don't have Mom and Baba Ty there, right? So, you know, just it just changed. It was it was a hard change. Yeah. So anyway, that was a long way around, but it was necessary, you know, because that definitely is stuff. These are things that, you know, that are on my mind, on my heart, and that come about with change, right? And it's not even all bad. It's most of it is just different, you know. It reminds me of becoming partial empty nesters, like when Xavier went off to college. That's always a very good thing. You know, your child goes off, but that change, that separation, it can be challenging, you know, because you're used to having that other person, their energy, seeing their face, their laugh, I'm not gonna cry again. That extra plate at the table, all the extra chicken gone when I grill, you know. But those things, and you grow into the change, you know, and you look for those visits back. So now it seems like we're just in that moment again, where now we really have to be mindful of those visits, either going or them coming back. You know, because now Miles is gone, planning his next chapter of his life in college and special relationship, and you know what I mean. So it's like it grows and goes or goes and grows. Like, I don't know which way to say it, you know?
Yeah.
But I do wish the zip codes were a little closer.
Yeah, so I want to wrap this up a little bit, but before we do, I want to speak about my mom and Baba Tai. One of the last things we did on the channel was really showing, talking about his journey to get across the border and get a surgery that's going to save his life. And he's doing a lot better now, so make sure everybody kind of knows his state.
Yeah.
Not perfect, still some room to grow. There's still another surgery coming up. My mother on the opposite end ends up being diagnosed with breast cancer. And she just went through surgery herself and had a mastectomy. So we always appreciate your love and prayers on that. We definitely want to take some time on the show at some point to have that conversation around that and kind of what her journey was through that. So that'll be coming up, so watch out for that. But as always, we're here trying to help, trying to share our little bit of life with the rest of y'all. So hope we can connect over that. So we will see you guys soon. There'll be some changes coming on the channel. You'll see some different wording, some different approach. But yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yeah, it was good catching up with you guys.
Yeah.
Leave us some messages and comments and stuff.
Yeah, as always, we're Chris and Jacki on 7997.
I love you.
We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
I want to say cuídate, but that's not what we're going to say. Cuídate.
Take care and take a chance.
Yes, y'all keep loving each other. We'll see y'all next time.